Welcome to First Possession on CRYOUT TV. I am your host, John Iagoro, and I'm here with my partner, David Ogedembe. And today, on today's episode, we'll be talking about all things sports. The NFL just concluded its championship games. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers advances to the Super Bowl as they will face off on February the 7th. We're going to dive into a lot NBA, NFL, but first of all, let's start off with the hottest game of the night. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to Lambeau Field and they upset Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Tom Brady threw for 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns also. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of questionable calls, a lot of questionable throws also. But at the end of the day, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers advanced to the Super Bowl as Tom Brady goes to his 10th championship game. And we're going to dive straight into that right now. My friend, who was to blame for the Green Bay Packers losing that game?
I think for one, you have to look at that defense, bro.
The defense?
That defense was awful.
Wow.
And if I had to pick one person, you know who I'm going at. I'm going at Kevin King.
Yeah.
Kevin King was pathetic. Oh, my goodness. That dude was a walking slant, walking go, walking fade, walking every kind of route you want to throw at that man. He couldn't defend it at all. And if you actually watch the game, because it's easy to pick on Aaron Rodgers, and I'll leave that for you to get on. But, man, they were targeting him every play, even the penalty. That was Kevin King. You know, the holding call at the end of the game, that was Kevin King. He got burnt on the last play of the first half. Yeah. That was embarrassing also. Mike Evans snagged on him. We all know that. And actually, Mike Evans would have had another grab on him had he not dropped the pass that Brady overthrew a little bit earlier in the game. That would have killed the game right then and there. Kevin King was awful. And if I had to point the blame at one person, I have to point at him. And it's easy to point at Aaron Rodgers, you know, because he did get some he got possessions that he should have scored. They went back-to-back 3 and outs after 2 straight interceptions that Brady threw. One of them a really, really bad interception. So Rodgers also gets some blame. A lot of people are getting on Matt LaFleur. It's easy to get on Matt LaFleur looking at hindsight. But at that time when he made that call, it was still questionable, I admit. But, you know, it wasn't as bad of a call as people are making it look. It wasn't as bad. I don't agree with it, but it wasn't as bad. And the reason it wasn't as bad is because if it wasn't for Kevin King making that, that's why I say it all goes back to Kevin King. If it wasn't for him grabbing on that holding call, which the pass wasn't even going to be caught in the first place, they would have been able to get the ball back. And if you give Aaron Rodgers the ball back with 2 minutes left, you know that's a guaranteed score no matter what. So, to me, it's easy to blame LaFleur for the call. It's easy to blame Rodgers. But if I had to point the blame at anybody, it has to be that defense. That defense was awful in the first half. I'm talking really bad. And it really is just Kevin King. Kevin King, he couldn't guard anybody. Anybody. No receiver on the field. He couldn't guard any of them. He got torched. So, as far as I'm concerned, if I had to blame one person, I'm blaming Kevin King.
Well, you are right. It's easy to blame LaFleur because he's exactly at fault for the Packers' loss. Well, I want to say the Green Bay Packers offense as a whole, and who does it start with? Matt LaFleur. Also, Aaron Rodgers, he's not off the hook here. He played, well, his numbers will say he played great, but he had a lot of questionable throws. And you point to, at the end of the half, you know, the 3 passes straight. He missed Lazard on a slant. He missed him wide open. He threw 3 straight balls to Devontae Adams. My God, you have other receivers. Look for them also. I get Devontae's all world and all, but, like, he missed some open receivers just to focus on Devontae. But that's just that. Obviously, we're going to talk about the play call at the end. What are you doing? First of all, your defense just gave up 31 points to a 43-year-old Tom Brady. In what world did you think they were going to come up with a stop? Because I'm struggling to, because the first thing I say when I seen the field goal unit coming, I'm like, what are they doing here? Why are they going for a field goal? You're down 8 points. Let's say you go for the 4th down and you score a touchdown. You're down and you missed the 2-point conversion. Now you only need a field goal. And now that makes situations a lot more easier. But no, you kick a field goal. You know your defense hasn't been playing great. They've been getting torched all game long, and you decide to go for a field goal. I don't understand what that was about. But also, Aaron Rodgers, if you're that dude, I know, yes, a coach makes the calls and he makes the decisions, but you tell him like, hey, what are you doing? I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, chill out.
We're going for it on fourth down.
He's still the coach.
No. Okay, granted,
he's still not basketball, bro.
He's still the coach. No. There are players in the NFL. Go look at Lamar Jackson. You go watch the tape. He tells John Harbaugh, we're going for it on display. You think Mahomes, Andy Reid, you think they're going for a field goal in that situation? No, absolutely not. You can't come with a chance to go to the Super Bowl and play conservative. Whatever that word is. Conservative.
There you go.
You can't come and a chance to make it to the Super Bowl and play conservative. Sorry, guys. You can't play conservative against Tom Brady as a 43-year-old. And I don't understand what that was about, because you have a chance to go to the Super Bowl and you're settling for a field goal. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady threw 3 straight interceptions yesterday.
Yeah, that was bad.
3 straight. Now you get the ball back. You get to march down the field and score a touchdown. And you don't score a touchdown. You punt the ball. Tom Brady throws another interception. So now you get the ball again. Go score a touchdown. You can't score a touchdown. Tom Brady's like, all right, guys, I'm going to give it to you one more time. And you get a chance to score a touchdown. And he throws another interception.
That was
and
a really bad one. That last one.
Really bad one. Yes, yeah. Leonard Fournette missed a block on the corner
and
coming.
Just slung it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just chunked it up there. But gives it to them again. And they still didn't score a touchdown. So Tom Brady's like, all right, I gave you enough chances. Now it's time to end the game. And they ended the game. So they absolutely deserve to be home. They played bad play calling at the end. Aaron Rodgers didn't come through because I don't know why people are giving him a break. Matt LaFleur, yes, he made the call. But if you're that quarterback, if you're that Hall of Fame quarterback and you trust your abilities as that quarterback, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's literally a 5-year-old will say, okay, I have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. No, we're going for it on that play. But no, you go for a field goal knowing how bad your defense has been the whole entire game. Yes, Tom Brady had a bad second half, but you're not banking on your defense to come up with a stop at that position when you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So I'm going to blame this loss on the Packers offense. Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, they're both to blame. Their defense, they've never had a good defense. Yeah, they were 9th overall.
That's not an excuse, man.
This 9th overall. I mean, come on.
No. The reason that's not an excuse is because, for one, I didn't even hear anything about the Smith brothers. I don't know what they were doing last night.
I mean, Tom Brady was getting the ball out of his hand really quickly.
If they're good enough to widen it, they put pressure. We all know the way you beat Brady is to put pressure on him. And not only, we've seen it from the Giants in the Super Bowls that they won, but also saw from the Saints earlier on in the season. And not only that, I also think that, because if you're going to blame the offense, I think the offensive line deserves some blame because they let Jason Pierre-Paul, all of them on that defensive line just run roughshod on them. And then the thing is, the reason I have to say you have to look at that defense, though, is because the Green Bay Packers have a culture set of bad defensive play in the postseason. Yep. How many times have we seen Aaron Rodgers with great offenses, statistically speaking, because a lot of times it's really just him and one receiver, and how many times have we seen his defense give up so many yards or so many big plays? And the fact that they didn't have safety help on that side with Kevin King, who was getting destroyed in that game, in the last play of the quarter, when Brady is known for taking shots and risks down the field to end halves, he has a reputation for doing that. So why is it that he didn't have no safety help and he let that guy get behind him? That's terrible coverage and it's terrible play calling for Matt LaFleur.
You can't blame the game on that play. It was a big play.
But that was a big play.
Granted. But the defense got 3 interceptions in the second half.
The thing is
I don't want to hear about their defense.
It's easy for you to say that. No. It's easy for you to say that play wasn't that big of a deal in hindsight.
No, it was a big play. Don't get me wrong.
Or it's not as big of a deal as I'm making it seem. But the thing is, you're forgetting they got that play done, and then they got the ball back in the first half, in the beginning of the second half, and they scored.
Okay.
So you have to look at the momentum swing.
All of that happened, and in the fourth quarter, they were still down 1 possession, and Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, they had multiple opportunities to march down the field and score a touchdown, and they couldn't come through.
I'm not disagreeing
all of that,
you.
The defense was bad, yes, granted, but they still made big plays when they needed to. They came up with 3 interceptions in the second half against Tom Brady. Now, offense, your turn, go score the ball, but they couldn't come through. And I don't want to hear about the defense. Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, they are both to blame for this loss. Look, because the defense, but they played their part.
I'm not saying they didn't have their faults. Rodgers is supposed to be, if you're as great as we all know you are, because people have said he's the best arm talent we've ever seen in the NFL.
So
until Patrick Mahomes came along,
yeah.
But at the end of the day, when your defense gives up the amount of plays that they gave up in that first half, they've already set the tone. The Bucs set the tone, and it was easier for Brady to get away with just only scoring one touchdown in the second half because he dominated them in the first. So as far as I'm concerned, you have to look at that defense too. Rodgers has his faults in this game. LaFleur definitely has his faults in this game for that questionable play call to not go for it on fourth down. But that defense was awful. And I think Kevin King, by the way, you deserve to be fired. You deserve to be cut immediately.
You can talk about the defense all you want. They still had an opportunity to come up with a play in offense, and they just couldn't come through. And now
I can't disagree with that, but
now
still, I just think that you're giving their offense too much blame.
No.
Are you telling me Kevin King has no blame?
No, he deserves some blame, but I'm saying the defense came up with stops at the right times, and now offense.
Why couldn't they do that in the first half?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Things happen.
It doesn't matter.
It happens. It was a stupid play. Granted, a stupid play, but still in the fourth quarter. This guy just said
Kevin King getting snagged on doesn't matter. He also got ran over by Leonard Fournette too. Are we forgetting that touchdown?
Bad plays like that happen, but I'm saying at the end of the day, they had opportunities to score the ball and come even in the game, and they couldn't.
And by the way, Alexander, good job. At least you showed up on your side of the field.
Anyways, so now I'm gonna ask you this question also. Do you think this loss hurt Aaron Rodgers' legacy?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because look, this is one of those things. Because even though I can say the defense is the number one proponent for me as to why they lost, two things can be right. Like Aaron Rodgers also had to step up as well. And Rodgers, your defense, like you said, they got him 3 interceptions, and he only capitalized on one of them. 2 interceptions in a row, back-to-back possessions, I mind you. 2 straight 3-and-outs on Rodgers' part. And not only that, but let's just step back here and look at the totality of the situation. You're facing the Buccaneers, who you could argue have more talent on offense with the weapons that Brady has. But at the end of the day, you were still the 1 seed. Let's be real. They were a wild card team.
Advantage.
They didn't even win their division. You have home field. Not only that, but this is your second year with Matt LaFleur. You look way more comfortable this year than you did your first year. He's probably gonna win the MVP. We know that. And not only that, but then you go down in the first half, and in the second half, when your defense gives you the ball, you can't capitalize. And this is a game where you're facing Tom Brady. Brady, who this is his first year with the team, first year in the conference, and now he's in the Super Bowl. He has as many Super Bowl appearances as you do in 1 year in the conference that you've only been able to get out of 1 time. And now you drop to 1-4 in NFC Championship games. And in a lot of these games, he's been blown out. Let's not forget he got blown out by the 49ers last year. He got blown out by the Falcons, and he blew a lead against the the Seattle Seahawks. So his NFC Championship resume isn't very good. He only has 1 NFC Championship win. We all know he then went on to win the Super Bowl against my Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't even remind me of that game. But regardless, as far as I'm concerned, as much as I love Aaron Rodgers, all the things that I just said, people are going to use that against him, and we can. It's good for us to apply context because it's not fair to just say he choked all these games and he's just a bad playoff performer. That's not the truth. Aaron Rodgers is a good playoff performer. If you actually look at his performances, he actually plays well. Even in this game against the Bucs, he didn't play his best, but he didn't play bad. But at the end of the day, people are not going to care about that in the future. They're not going to care about context.
So if you want to say this game hurt his legacy, so I will ask you, what was his legacy before this game? Because a lot of us love to have this argument, but we were never really going to put him above Tom Brady. We were never really going to put him above Tom Brady. So I would say, he lost the GOAT. I mean, that's fair.
It's fair to say that, but the thing is, for one, Brady's not even in his prime. Brady's 43 years old. Secondly,
very sharp, though.
Yeah, he's still looking good for a 43-year-old, even though that wasn't even his best performance. But secondly, we're also forgetting that if he had won this game, the argument for why Rodgers is over Brady to some people, talent-wise and all of that, and all these people saying, if Rodgers had Belichick, if Rodgers had that defense, if he had Randy Moss, he would have won a Super Bowl, unlike Brady, who didn't even do it with Randy. But all those arguments kind of go out the window now. Because he goes to a new team, and though he does have weapons, he doesn't have Belichick. He has Bruce Arians, who's a good coach. Yeah, and he's 43 years old. He's not even in his prime. He doesn't have the arm that he used to have, and he's not even like he had the best of arms back in the day.
Yeah.
He had a good arm, but it's not like his arm was like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. He wasn't touching that. He's not even touching guys like Dan Marino. You know what I'm saying? So, like, damn. So to lose to that version of Tom Brady when you had opportunities to win the game, and we all saw you had opportunities, and you missed those opportunities. I'm sorry, like, this definitely hurt his legacy in my eyes.
They came in as the favorite. They were highly favored, by like a field goal and a half more than Tampa. 13-3 coming into this game. They just beat the Rams, who has a really good defense. I'll argue a better defense than Tampa. But let me give you an interesting stat. The last 7 playoff losses that the Packers have, the last 7, they had lost to that team in the regular season earlier.
Wow. That's sad.
That says a lot. Lack of adjustment, lack of creativity, lack of, schemes and things like that you want to argue. But, I mean, we also take into account that Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't really had a top 10 defense like the last decade or so. And then you take all of that into account, and, I mean, this one hurt though because of the way he played and whatnot.
How much it meant.
And how much he meant, who he was playing against, the GOAT, you know what I'm saying? But like if he had made it to the Super Bowl and lost to Patrick Mahomes, we wouldn't really kill him for that. But, his name and Tom Brady's have been, neck and neck the last
and he would have got at least another Super Bowl appearance.
Exactly.
Appearances matter too.
1-4. Tom Brady got as much NFC championships as him, and he's only been there for 1 year. So
that's tough.
Man,
this hurt.
It hurt.
And because Rodgers is the type of guy that really cares about what people say about him.
Very passionate.
He's very, very passionate about the game. He's very emotional. You saw him on the sideline saying, "Get a stop" to his defense. He's gonna look back at this game in particular because you can look at the 49ers game and the Falcons game and say he had no shot.
Yeah.
But he's gonna look back at this game and be like, "Man, I really had a shot. I
want to say his window is closed because I think
it's not closed.
I think a lot, bro. It's like when watching that game yesterday, it's like, okay, I've seen this movie before. Packers come in as favorites. They look good. They've been looking good, and then the NFC Championship game, and they just fold.
They fold.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a lot of the teams next year are going to get obviously a lot better. We expect the 49ers to pick one of these solid quarterbacks, and they're going to be a threat to deal with next year. And
it's tough. This is a really tough loss.
If he doesn't make it to another Super Bowl, at least,
it's tough.
It's going to take a huge hit on his legacy. But moving on, guys, to the next segment, we're going to talk about the other game, the AFC Championship game. The Kansas City Chiefs just absolutely shredded the Buffalo Bills.
I said it.
Josh Allen's team. But we're just gonna dive into that. Do you think the Chiefs were just that good, or the Bills underperformed?
I think the Chiefs are just that good. I mean, when you look at this game, the three-headed beast of Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey doing their thing as always. Travis Kelsey, 13 receptions, 118 yards. Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 172 yards. Patrick Mahomes, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. The man was sensational. All 3 of them were sensational. And like I said, it doesn't even matter because that secondary is a weakness. Their secondary is not.
They got a pretty good defense.
They got the honey badger, but their defensive line is solid. Their defensive line is solid. Their linebacker core is solid. But their secondary is the weakest part of the team.
Yeah.
And that speaks more so to how good the team is in general. But their secondary is their weakness. And I've been saying this, and I've been saying this, and I've been saying this. The Bills did not look great this postseason. They didn't. They had a close game with the Indianapolis Colts that shouldn't have been close because if they were on par with the Chiefs, they should have blew them out the water. Yep. Then the next game, you have the Baltimore Ravens, who are a great defense, don't get me wrong, but they only scored 10 points. And if it wasn't for that interception return, they could have lost that game because they were down 10-0. It wasn't like it was impossible for them to come back. And Lamar goes out the game and doesn't return. So for them, I even said, if you had put the Chiefs on the opposing teams of the teams they played, they would have got destroyed because they let those teams have chances that you can't give to the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's not forget, they were up 9-0 to start the game. It should have even been 10-0 had they not missed the extra point. So whenever you get a lead, you have to capitalize on it when you are going against the Kansas City Chiefs. Because when you're down double digits or double scores, you have to throw the ball. And you know there's nothing you can do to stop Tyreek Hill. There's nothing you can do to stop that connection between Mahomes and Kelsey. So at that point, you have to capitalize on it. And the Chiefs, they did a great job of shutting down Stephon Diggs. And not only did they shut him down, but Josh Allen looked lost. He looked lost. And I've been saying this, my faith in Josh Allen is not that high. It's not that high. I consider him top 5, but he's literally number 5. And you could swap him out for a Lamar Jackson if you really want to. I wouldn't personally do that, but I can understand that argument. Because after Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, and Watson, you could really go anybody with that 5th spot. So as far as I'm concerned, I just think the Chiefs are just that good. And I called it. I called this. Everybody, I called it. I said, I predicted my score to be 35-20, but it was 38-24, 4 points off. But to me, I just didn't think it was going to be particularly close because the Bills, they showed me enough on this postseason run, and hopefully they can piece it together next year. Allen showed a lot of progression, and I was seeing a lot of. And by the way, Cole Beasley was hurt. Shout out to Cole Beasley for playing through that broken fibula, I believe. And I even said this man was looking like Carson Wentz. He was holding the ball far too long, taking some of the worst sacks I have ever seen in my entire life.
10, 15-yard sacks.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to this: can you stop Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill? And the answer is the Bills cannot do that.
So the Chiefs are great. They played great. I'll give you that. But I think, the Bills, they underperformed. Why? Because they came in as the hotter team. They were beating all these good teams at the end of the season. And I think the problem is we all just tried to raise them up too high. We started putting the Bills next to the Chiefs' name. The Chiefs are the defending champs, by the way. We started putting the Bills next to their name. Disrespectful. Now we started putting Josh Allen's name next to Mahomes' name, which
I was seeing that.
Just peak disrespectful. And I think they were just overhyped to start with. Let me give you some of their quality wins. They beat the Rams. Good team. Steelers, not really. Decent.
Chill on us,
Seahawks,
man. Chill on us.
Now let me give you some of the losses they had during the season. 16-42 against the Titans. And 26-17 against the Chiefs. Obviously, everybody loses to the Chiefs. But prior to the fourth quarter yesterday against the Chiefs, and 7 quarters, the entire game against the Baltimore Ravens and the first 3 quarters against the Chiefs, the Bills had 2 touchdowns. 2. As much as we talk about how explosive that offense is, how improved Josh Allen is, having Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and that offense, and Brian Daboll, who I think, was calling some really iffy plays yesterday. As explosive as we know that offense to be, they had 2 touchdowns in 7 quarters. Literally, the Chiefs spotted them 9-0, and they outscored them 38-6. 38-6.
That's tough.
And this is the thing when playing the Chiefs. I don't know why it's been Mahomes' 3rd full year now, and people still don't know. You cannot score field goals against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't care if you're 4th and whatever. If you're in the red zone, or if you're in the 10-yard line, and it's 4th and whatever, you go for it. That's what I'm going if I'm in the playoffs, because field goals are just not going to cut it. And that's what the Buffalo Bills kept doing. Kept field goal after field goal and field goal. And what happens is when you score a field goal, that's 3 points. When Mahomes gets the ball, that's 7 points. You're already down. So you can't keep scoring field goals. And I just don't think, I think for them, the Bills, I would say the Bills had a successful season. I would say they had a successful season because it's their first year, actually being a playoff contender, a Super Bowl contender, actually. But this is the thing. When you're a playoff contender the first year, you don't always win it the first year. Like we see with the Browns now. They made the playoffs. They contended. Now you get that first year under your belt. Now you come back the next year a lot more improved, experience and whatnot. But I thought Josh Allen, when just watching the game, he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like that improved quarterback that we've seen over the course of the year.
The old Josh
Allen. He looked like the old Josh Allen. We said that last time. We said Josh Allen can be Josh Allen sometimes.
Yeah, he can mess up.
We know what he can do. He can mess up a lot. You really costly pick that one.
Look like Carson Wentz out there.
Really costly pick. But I just don't think they were ready to, battle with the big boys yet. the Kansas City Chiefs. And it just looked like the gap just looked really big. I'm like, that's supposed to be the number 1 and number 2 team in the AFC.
Yeah.
It looked like the number 1 versus the number 7 or 8 team. But, the Bills got the experience under their belt now, and I think they'll be perfectly fine. But I just think they played below par yesterday because, mind you, this team hung 56 on the Dolphins defense.
That Dolphins defense is no joke.
Exactly.
They're no joke.
They have 56 points against that Dolphins defense. So you think, okay, they can at least come in here and get in a shootout with Mahomes. But that wasn't the case in this situation. And I think, they underperformed, based on what we know they can be. And, I think they'll be back next year. And they'll play better.
I want to say this to Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia.
Because there's way more of them than I actually thought. Because I made a post about Josh Allen. And I said, whenever Stephon Diggs get locked up, he looks like Carson Wentz. To all of those people that were telling me, oh, this is the best team in the league, blah, blah, blah. Are we supposed to lose anyway? That's no excuse for still playing bad.
Yeah.
Josh Allen completed under 60% of his passes. He threw a costly turnover into coverage. Sure, you could say the pass was dropped, tipped, whatever. But that pass was still a bad decision. He threw into coverage. And not only that, but look, Josh Allen, this is his 3rd year in the league. We've seen progression from him year after year after year to where he is now. Stephon Diggs was a huge part of his growth. You have to understand that. And I was seeing people say, oh, but he threw touchdowns to Beasley and all these other guys as well. Well, it's easier for those guys to succeed because Stephon Diggs' attention.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why people are acting as if that, like, the situations in the season throughout the regular season are the same as what we saw against the Chiefs. The Chiefs shut him down. They shut him down. Until the 4th quarter, he only had 45 yards. Garbage yards after that. So as far as I'm concerned, people need to... Now is the time for us to start holding Josh Allen accountable. We gave him legitimate expectations this year, and he failed. He got to the conference championship, and I give him credit for that, but his performance in the conference championship was not up to par and up to the expectations that we set for him. Yeah. And we have to start holding him accountable. And it all starts with you. Bills Mafia, you need to start holding him accountable.
And like I said, losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's not really a bad thing, but, it matters how you play. How you lose matters, you know what I'm saying? So at least put up a fight. They just looked absolutely lost yesterday. The stage was, it's kind of everybody's first. Yes, they beat the Ravens, in the divisional round and whatnot, but now you're playing with the big boys. You want to make it to the Super Bowl and win a ring, you got to go through that every single year. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce.
Unless they get upset.
Exactly. Unless they get, which is probably never going to happen. But,
we've seen crazy stuff.
We have, but not with this team.
With this team,
I think the Bills will be just fine. Come back next year. You're probably going to lose a closer game to the Chiefs, They're going to lose closer. It's not going to be as big.
Maybe 24-27.
Maybe a 3-point game, But,
they'll be back.
Lots of improvement, lots of things to be excited for about, with the Buffalo Bills.
Maybe next time y'all will lose by a field goal instead of a couple of touchdowns. It's possible,
Anyways, we'll be back as we dive more into a lot more NFL stories around the league. Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, and a lot of NBA also. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Possession here on CRYOUT TV as we are still talking all things sports. We just talked about the NFL playoffs and, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are advancing to the Super Bowl. But we're going to dive straight into the Kansas City Chiefs part of the bubble. They had an impressive game over the Buffalo Bills. They beat them 38-24. But we are going to be talking about that man, the myth, the legend, Patrick Mahomes, supposedly heir to the throne, that many people think is coming for Tom Brady and his GOAT status, but we're going to be talking about that right now. Do you think Patrick Mahomes is on his way to the GOAT status?
I think that's without a doubt, yes. Oof. As great as
you think he can catch Tom?
I think he can. Because as great as Tom Brady is, Brady has those 6 rings, and I think when it comes to the GOAT status, you have to nitpick sometimes and contextualize stuff. Because as great as Brady was, in the first couple of his rings, he was a game manager. Yeah. In the first couple of years of his career, he was a game manager. Randy Moss really opened up his game. Yep. Because when you give a quarterback that number 1, that's what really changes everything. We've seen it with Josh Allen. DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins with Deshaun Watson. It can open up your pass game. Brady was a game manager for some of those Super Bowls. And then when you factor in also that his last Super Bowl against the Rams, he didn't even play all that well. That was a defensive game. So you have to contextualize stuff. And even when you look at some of Brady's losses, man, he's lost to some really bad quarterbacks. He's
lost Eli twice.
Eli Manning twice. In an undefeated season, no less, one of them.
Lost to Nick Foles. I'm
not going to forget he lost to Joe Flacco. Let's not forget that now. So, he's had some really questionable losses on his resume. And he lost to Peyton Manning in his last year. Absolutely. In a game he didn't even play all that particularly well, by the way. And Peyton Manning was awful that year. We all know he got carried by his defense. And then when you look at Patrick Mahomes' side, Mahomes will definitely lose in the playoffs. We're not expecting him to go undefeated for the rest of his career. He will lose, and whoever beats him, their legacy is going to go through the roof just for beating Patrick Mahomes. But when it comes to Mahomes, he's already got a Super Bowl on his resume in his first year in the league. His second year in the league, but his first year as a starter. Full first year. Won the MVP in his first year as a starter. If we're being honest, he got robbed of going to the Super Bowl by the stupid overtime rules of the NFL. It was stupid. Let's be honest. The NFL rules are the rules are the rules, obviously, but come on now. That's not fair. And then not only that, but when you consider the fact that now he's going to his second straight Super Bowl, more than likely is going to win the Super Bowl. I believe they will win, but, we'll talk about that at a later date. And then not only that, but let's just be real. Sometimes you have to look at talent over accomplishments. Even if he doesn't get 6 rings, if he gets around 3 or 4, and maybe not 3. I would say you have to get around 4 and up because Brady has set this standard.
I think it's going to take 5.
5?
Yes.
He has to win 5?
I think it's going to take 5.
Brady only has 3 Super Bowl MVPs, by the way.
That's it. When somebody sets the bar high to 6, MJ 6, Brady 6. That's kind of like the gold standard. Now LeBron is 4, but he's been to what? 10? And people like 4 and 6.
Okay, but look at Joe Montana. He's got 4 and he's 4-0.
But he doesn't have the full body of work as Brady and with the 6 championships. But in order to beat a GOAT, not only do you have to beat the GOAT in matchups, you got to beat him in rings also. I'm not. It's a different argument with basketball. Rings with Bill Russell and MJ, all that. But this is somebody that we think can come close to overthrowing Tom Brady as the GOAT.
Okay, but don't you think talent?
And because he's very young, and he's achieved a lot at this young stage. MVP, 50 touchdowns. He's going to his third. He's going to his second Super Bowl, but 3 straight championship games and whatnot. And now he's playing Tom Brady. I think this game, the Super Bowl, will be the deal breaker
for his GOAT status.
Yes.
You think he's going to be the GOAT after this win?
Who, Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
No, not be the GOAT after this win, but let's say he beats Tom Brady. Now he has 2, and he ends up with I'll give you 4. Ends up with 4 or 5, and I think now he has a case that I beat the GOAT, and now I have just 1 or 2 less rings than Tom Brady.
And we all know talent-wise he's better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it's all said and done, he's gonna have more numbers than Tom Brady because obviously he throws the ball way more and way deeper than Tom Brady.
If we're talking numbers, Drew is.
Obviously,
but rings matter.
Yeah, rings matter also. I think when it's all said and done, when you look at the entire body of work, the rings, the numbers, the MVPs, the Pro Bowls, and everything that comes with it, I think this game will be really key when we're having that discussion at the end of the day that who is the GOAT. And I think, if he beats Brady, that's a step forward. But at the end of the day, that's a really big, tough ask for anybody to try to catch Tom Brady to GOAT status. But I think 5 will get it done. 5 rings will get it done. Anyways, moving on. Some more NFL stories. Free agency is coming up, and a lot of movements are taking places right now. And first, Matthew Stafford departed ways with the Detroit Lions, and now he's on the market. He's a free agent. Who will he sign with? We don't know, but we're going to bring that discussion right now to the table because he's still a very good quarterback, and I think whoever gets him is going to have a lot on their hands. So, my friend, what team do you think right now should try to make a play for Matthew Stafford?
Before I get into the specifics of where I think he's going to go or where I think he should go, let me say this. Matthew Stafford is one of the most underappreciated players in the NFL. He's completely underappreciated. The man threw for over 4,000 yards last year, 26 touchdowns in the air, 10 interceptions. He was sensational this year.
Yep.
Put up monster numbers. It's just it's a shame that he has to do it for this poverty franchise as the Detroit Lions. I tell you, the Detroit Lions are a disgrace. They are the Los Angeles Clippers of
I think
the
one
NFL.
of the worst franchises in the NFL,
in
if
history,
not top 2
in history.
Jeez.
I was gonna say actually they're the Clippers, but they can't even be the Clippers because
Yeah.
the Clippers have at least been successful in
You
my
say
lifetime.
the Knicks?
I can't even
You
say
say
the
the
Knicks. I can't even say the Knicks because the Knicks, they at least have a ring.
Yeah.
What have the Lions done?
Jeez.
They haven't done anything. They're pathetic. They're disgraceful. One of the most disgusting franchises I've ever seen in my entire life. Matt Patricia is a disgrace to sports. A disgrace to sports. He's pathetic. That's why I went back to Belichick.
Yeah.
He's a disgrace. When people say the Patriots tree is a disgrace, they're talking about people like Matt Patricia. So as far as I'm concerned, the Lions, they don't deserve him, and I'm glad he's getting out of there. So it's only a miracle that he's escaped with his life at this point.
Because if you thought the Houston Texans as an organization are bad, no, the Detroit Lions are shambles. They're way worse.
Pathetic.
Jeez.
But back to where I think he should go. Enough of trashing the Lions. They don't even deserve another second of our time. I think that Matthew Stafford, I think the Patriots are a team that should consider him.
Wow.
Because, for one, Cam Newton can't throw, so you need to get somebody who can throw.
Yeah, I think they are releasing him.
Yeah, they've decided to part ways. And I think that Belichick, all he needs is just somebody that's good.
Manage the game.
Somebody that can manage the game. And Stafford is more than capable of doing that. He still has a really good arm. He still has great talent. He still has a high football IQ. I mean, what else do you want more? I guess you would want someone mobile, but especially considering that O-line is not great. But it's not like Stafford is like Tom Brady.
Yeah, he can move a little bit.
He can move a little bit at least, but it's not like his mobility is what you need. You just need somebody that can manage the game and read the defenses, and Stafford is more than capable of doing so. And I think that Belichick, he's got to prove that he can do something without Brady. Because the way Brady's looking now, he doesn't look good. And people are not, that's why I say we got to be able to tell our kids what happened in these moments. Because people are going to look back and just say, because Belichick doesn't ever win again, they're going to be like, oh, it was all Brady. Yeah. Brady went to the Super Bowl without him, blah, blah, blah. That's why we got to be able to tell our kids, no, man. He had Cam Newton who can't throw for a year. They had a lot of budget cuts in situations with their roster financially. And Patrick COVID, Chung opted out. Hightower opted out. Gilmore missed time also. So we got to be able to tell our kids that stuff because no one's going to be able to inform them. They're just going to be thinking in the future, Brady's just that good. And Belichick was just living off of Brady's talent, which is just not true, you know? So as far as I'm concerned, I think the Patriots are a great landing spot for him. And I think that he will go there because throwing 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and completing 64% of your passes, that should tell you all you need to know about a guy like Matthew Stafford. He's been doing it year after year consistently for Detroit, and it was time for them to part ways. They needed a culture change, and he needed a change in scenery, and I'm glad that he's getting it, and I think New England is the best place that can give him that change of scenery.
There are a lot of really good teams, and I would stay in the NFC when you look at the 49ers. Yeah, you know, they have Deshaun Watson hopes. I don't think they're going to get him because they don't have enough. But when you obviously talk about signing a free agent,
they have pieces. They have
that they
pieces
can give
on that
up
defense.
They can.
I wouldn't do it.
Exactly. I wouldn't do it because if you give up Joey Bosa, who do you have left? You know,
no one left.
But I think stay in the NFC. You're already familiar with the offense. You're already familiar with the teams around you, and run something with Kyle Shanahan. Imagine Kyle Shanahan with somebody of the caliber of Matthew Stafford.
That's an offensive force.
Exactly. With the scheme that he runs and everything like that. I think Matthew Stafford had one of those years, like Deshaun Watson also this year, when you if you didn't look at the Lions record and you looked at Matthew Stafford's number, you okay, that team made the playoffs and they probably won a game or two in the playoffs. But the Lions were just so pathetic that
disgusting.
Watching some of the games, I'm like, wow, I haven't really got to watch Matthew Stafford a lot, but I'm like, bro, he's really good. He's up there with the best of them when you look at the skill, when you look at the talent, arm talent, everything, the passing, the accuracy. He's a complete quarterback. He's not the most mobile, but he's not a stick figure. He's not just going to stand in the pocket. He can move.
Yeah.
And then
he's around that top 10, 15
look at the lines with the offensive line that they had, not many receivers, to put around him, and he was still putting up numbers, The defense was just pathetic.
Disgusting.
Matt Patricia wasted like what 1.5 of Matthew Stafford's years, but
wasted time.
And now it just doesn't look like the franchise has any vision for like Matthew Stafford. So I think it was time to move on. He's spent about 10 plus years with them, 10 or 11, and they haven't been good. They haven't competed at a high level, and it was just time to move on. And I think going to the 49ers will really make people appreciate the greatness of Matthew Stafford. And now he gets to show the world his talent and gets to show what he can do in a winning situation. And I think the 49ers is the best landing spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. The 49ers is a nice little landing spot.
Yeah.
The only reason that I wouldn't go to San Francisco, though, is because I think the road to getting there is a little bit more difficult because that division is serious business out there.
Yeah.
But I think when you go to the Patriots division, I know the Dolphins are coming up, but the Dolphins
got Josh Allen to work.
The Dolphins, Josh Allen is also.
Just saying, they're a good team.
Josh Allen is whatever. Whatever. You got Josh Allen in the Bills. That's a legitimate team right now. They've proven themselves to be a legit contender in the AFC. But I just feel like New England, when you just get that culture of New England with Belichick, they're a guarantee. If they just have a solid quarterback and solid pieces on that defensive side of the ball, they're a guaranteed 10 to 11 wins.
I
think for Matthew Stafford, you want stability.
Yeah.
You want a culture that is winning. He's been in a losing culture for years.
Exactly.
For years. When I tell you they stink, that is an understatement. It's not even that they stink. They smell. They completely smell. Like, I don't even want to get into all that.
I mean,
regardless,
but I
think he needs to
understand
change
because
the culture.
who wouldn't want to play with Bill Belichick?
Exactly.
Because that's like almost a guaranteed 9 games winning.
Forget 9, that's 10.
Exactly.
Guaranteed 10
and
wins.
then they've always just
Unless you're Cam
the
Newton.
defense is always set. With Bill Belichick, they always have a top 5 to top 10 defense. So that part of the ball is it's
Taken
already
care of.
settled. So now you need a quarterback, and they've had Tom Brady, a game manager at first, and now and Matthew Stafford, who I think is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. When you look at the arm talent and the passing and whatnot.
Whoa! You said he's a better quarterback
Not
than Tom
as
Brady?
a whole, not greater. But when you
Right
look
now,
at the
you think he's
skill,
better than Tom Brady?
Okay, we're not
No,
comparing Tom Brady
asking,
right now at
who's
43.
the better quarterback
at
right
40.
now? No.
Tom Brady, he's in the Super Bowl.
I know.
Come on,
It
man.
sounded like
They're
you was
in the
going to say
Super Bowl.
something wild, yo.
But when you look at what Matthew Stafford is able to do, you look at him. He's a
Hey,
really
do you think
good,
Matthew Stafford can go to the Super Bowl with the Bucs?
Oof.
Hey, just say it. Just say it. If you think that, just say it.
Oof.
That's up. Just say it.
I wouldn't go that far.
He didn't want to do it.
I wouldn't go that far.
He didn't want to do
I mean,
it.
if you look at what Tom Brady did, would you say Matthew Stafford couldn't do the same thing? I'm just saying. Would you say Matthew Stafford couldn't do what Tom Brady did with the weapons that he has at his disposal?
I mean, Matthew Stafford's a loser. I'm just saying.
He's been in a losing franchise. You can't put that on him.
Yeah, he bears some of that blame.
No, I mean, but
He doesn't bear any of that blame.
I mean, obviously, but who
As
has he
much
had
as
to
I
work
defend-
with?
As much as I defend him and I was getting on the
Who
line,
has he had
he's
to
a part
work
of that
with?
culture too.
I mean, obviously, he's.
Oh, wait, who's he had to work with?
He's a quarterback.
Yeah,
Well, he had
Calvin
Megatron.
Johnson.
He had
I was gonna
Megatron.
say.
Absolutely. But, obviously the Lions franchise as a whole
They stink.
they've been
Smelly. Yeah, they
horrible.
smell. They smell.
Moving on to, I think, the other terrible franchise in the NFL who's up there with the Lions, the Houston Texans, as an organization.
Right now.
Deshaun Watson
they
still
stink.
hasn't been returning the Texans front office calls. And now there are reports that he has shortened his trade list, to 2 teams, the Dolphins and the Jets.
Man.
2 teams in the AFC East are the teams that Deshaun Watson has shortened his list to. So now I'm going to bring the discussion to the table, my friend. What team do you think Deshaun Watson should end up with?
Okay, if we're talking about the fit, I think Miami is by far better than the Jets. The thing is, I don't know why he wants to go to the Jets. The Jets suck.
I'll tell you why. But you make your point
I don't know why
first.
he wants to go to the Jets. The Jets suck. There are a multitude of other teams. If I were him, I'd try to go to San Francisco, but the pieces, obviously, I don't know how they make that work. If I had it my way in a perfect world, I'd want him to come to Pittsburgh, but that's just not going to happen. And especially considering we signed Dwayne
Good luck
Haskins.
with Dwayne Haskins.
Hey, we'll see. But in regards to where I think he should want to go, I think it's Miami because I think Miami, they got some weapons there, some receiving core weapons. Getsky is a nice little tight end. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. I mean, he's really good, actually. Their defense is legit. And as good as Tua is not ready yet.
Yeah.
You know, he's still very conservative with the ball. He barely even takes risks throwing it down the field. And we saw in that Bills game when they needed him to play well, he just didn't play well at all. So he still has room to grow. I'm not saying he's trash. You know, I'm a Bama fan, so I want him to be successful. And I think he has the potential to be really great. I think when you look back at this quarterback draft that just happened this past year, him, Burrow, Herbert, they're going to be the quarterbacks of the future. It's going to be kind of like that Big Ben class with Eli and Phillip Rivers. By the way, Phillip Rivers just retired. Nobody even cared. But regardless, getting back to the Dolphins situation, I think when you plug Deshaun in there, you're a guaranteed contender.
Yeah.
I think you're a contender, especially considering that defense. I just think that's a contending team right there. And even if worst case scenario, Deshaun is hurt, Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's no QB controversy there.
Yeah.
There's no, like right now, there's QB controversy with questions with Fitzpatrick and Tua. But now when you plug Deshaun in there, Fitzpatrick knows his role. He knows he's a backup at that point. And even if Deshaun goes out, you know you have a reliable backup in Fitzmagic. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, man, I think Miami is by far the best destination.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get your point with Miami being the best destination for him because, you know, as a team, they're from top to bottom, they're a complete team. I'm talking about from top as in the GM to the coach. It's a structured franchise. You know, Brian Flores, and we got to give him credit for what he did with, you know, that team. And you look at who the Dolphins had a quarterback. They had Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they won 10 games with that squad. And if you just take those out and plug Deshaun in, you're looking at 12 games over here and being a contender for a Super Bowl. But one of the reasons why he wanted to be, why he also mentioned the Jets was that he told the Texans to interview Robert Saleh because he liked what he did with the 49ers defense. And yes, we've been calling the Jets, but like I said at the end of the season last year, I seen signs of improvement.
Oh my gosh!
Come on,
stop it!
I seen signs of improvement.
I know you're not going to say the Jets are good.
They beat the Rams. Just throwing that out there means absolutely nothing. They beat the Rams. They could have beat the Raiders, but you know Greg Williams happened. Just throwing that out there means absolutely nothing. But just throwing that out there, and that's what Adam Gase, by the way. That's with Adam Gase, by the way. And now you bring in a more mature person. Now you bring in a more matured man in Robert Saleh, who's already he's been to the Super Bowl, had a top defense in the NFL with the 49ers, and now what are you gonna bank with? Are you gonna bank on Sam Darnold? And they have the number 2 pick anyway, so I think who would you say right now is a better quarterback, Sam Darnold or Tua? I would say Sam Darnold.
Chill.
I would say Sam Darnold is a better quarterback right now than Tua Tagovailoa. But that's another discussion for another day.
Man.
So now you have Sam Darnold, and now you have the number 2 pick. I think that's a lot.
Gonna age terribly.
I think that's a lot more attractive to the Texans than Tua and the number 3 pick. I just want to say,
good look, in a year,
the Dolphins is better, but
wait a minute, in a year, actually, that's so funny. He just said out of his mouth that Sam Darnold is better than Tua.
Absolutely.
And I want us to bookmark this day. January
right
25th.
Now,
Monday,
right
January
now
25th.
Is better.
5:03 p.m. This man said that Sam Darnold is better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Absolutely.
And I really, really hope that in a year, at this time, when we record this next episode in a year,
who knows
that doesn't age terribly.
Who knows?
Sam Darnold is garbage.
Because Tua played poorly last season.
Poorly?
Poorly.
He didn't play poorly.
I think
he didn't play like up to
Exactly.
But considering that he was conservative and the Dolphins were pulling him out of games.
I can make a case Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he was in the game, they took him out of so many games.
That's not that much of a hot take, though. Fitzpatrick is better than Darnold. Better than Darnold.
Fitzpatrick's better than a lot of starting quarterbacks in this league.
That's not a hot take.
You know, I think, you know, with Deshaun, you know, he likes Robert Saleh. He's, you know, he sees him as a really good young coach. And I think now he finally gets his opportunity. And I just don't know. I mean,
but why? But like that just doesn't make sense. You're leaving the Texans to go to the Jets.
It sounds stupid. I get it, but I'm saying maybe you're banking on a culture change with the Jets and a culture shift.
What kind of culture change?
I don't know. They got a good coach now.
They've been trashed since Rex Ryan left. Come on, man.
I'm just saying. Adam Gase, whatever that was, I don't know. But now he's gone. Now you're bringing a more mature guy, Robert Saleh. Now let's give it a chance. Let's see what he does.
Hey, I'm giving Robert Saleh a chance.
Like we thought the Browns were the Browns, but no, now they got a head coach, a good head coach instead of Kevin Stefanski, and we seen what he did with that. I'm not saying
that's completely different though.
I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs and gonna be contenders.
Flashes of being good.
I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs and gonna be contenders immediately. I'm saying no, you see improvement. Like I don't know. 6 wins.
But why is Deshaun cool with settling for, like you said, like a 7-win season with the
Trust
Jets?
me, any organization right now, other than the Texans, is good for them.
Hey, I mean, I can't really argue with you on that, but still,
I'm just saying.
I just feel like that. Like there are better organizations you could go to than the Jets.
Absolutely. I mean,
I get
you look at the 49ers,
stuff,
the Dolphins. Also, I'm not saying the Jets are a better team than
Deshaun,
the Dolphins.
Why don't you try to force your way to Pittsburgh, bro?
Just knock it off.
At least try, bro. Please.
Knock it off.
Please, I'm begging you.
That's some NFL stories right now. And when we come back, we'll be discussing some NBA stories. Welcome back to First Possession here on CRYOUT TV. We just discussed a lot of NFL, but now we're going to move into some NBA. One team is not getting enough love, and we're going to talk about them now. The Los Angeles Clippers. They started off the season with a 13-4 record, and they're one of the best teams in the West. Yes, they came off a disappointing loss from last season, but now they're one of the best teams in the league. They're looking as sharp as ever. So now I'm going to bring the discussion to the table. Are we sleeping on the Los Angeles Clippers? And I will start it off.
Yeah,
I think we are. I think we are. Listen.
Oh, brother.
I know we like to say like the Browns are the Browns, the Knicks are the Knicks, and the Clippers are the Clippers, but they look different this year. They look different. They look like a team. I think the chemistry's better. Ty Lue is doing a phenomenal job. I think, he deserves some credit, for the job he's doing. And now they putting the ball in Paul George's hands, who he, in my opinion, is top 5 in MVP conversation right now. He's one of the best players in the league right now. He's putting up monster numbers. They're number 1 in the West. They're a top 3 offense and defense in the league right now. I think it's high time we start giving them some credit. You know why you haven't been hearing much about Clippers nowadays? Because they're not doing bad. That's why. Everybody likes it when they're doing bad. Paul George is having, pandemic P moments. And, we're all making fun of it. And we're on Twitter laughing about it. But now they're a good team. They're playing good basketball. They're a team right now. Nicholas Batum, I thought he was washed. He's playing valuable minutes for them.
Solid pickup.
Exactly. Luke Kennard also a solid pickup. They're playing great basketball. They picked up Serge Ibaka, who's also a great rim protector. They're a more mature team now. I think they're a lot more focused now, obviously because of the loss from last year, and how they went out, obviously losing to Denver and whatnot. And I think now they're a more mature team.
Nuggets.
Exactly. Now they're a more mature team. They're a lot more, they have more experience under the belt as a team. And now I guess they just looked at everything, looked at who fits here, and, picked up some pieces in Ibaka, Luke Kennard off the bench. Lou Williams, obviously knows his role. And I just think now they know who they are. And they're a lot more laser focused, and we should watch out for them. I don't know if they're gonna beat the Lakers. We gotta wait till we see it. But I think they deserve some respect, more respect than we're already giving them, because they've looked sharp, they've looked elite, and they're playing good basketball. And I think it's about time we start mentioning the name up there with the Nets and the Bucks and the Lakers and them. And we should stop thinking the Clippers are the Clippers, because they're not the same team they were last year. I know we like to say the Clippers are the Clippers, but they're not the same team they were last year. They're a much better team now. They have better chemistry. They're a much more improved team, and it's time we start giving them some credit, because they are going to be a force to deal with in the playoffs.
No, we're not sleeping on the Clippers. And the reason that we're not is because we've seen this before.
Oh,
we've seen this before. Let me take you guys back. To 2015. The Los Angeles Clippers had a great regular season, like they always do since the Chris Paul era. This is the Chris Paul era I'm talking about. And they go into the playoffs. They're up 3-1 in the second round against the Houston Rockets, and they blow the 3-1 lead. Mind you, coming into that season, actually that was 2015, right? 2015, yeah. And coming into that season, or coming into that postseason, I believe even JJ Redick said it himself after the season was over, that coming into that postseason, a lot of people thought they should have beat the Warriors because they had the experience on their side. And they blow the 3-1 lead. Then we all know injuries kind of ruined the rest of that. But I don't think people understand that when you have a culture in place, you have to get rid of what's causing it. And they've already moved on from Chris Paul. They've moved on from Blake Griffin.
And
DeAndre Jordan, Doc Rivers. So why is it that they still choked the 3-1 lead last year? I think Steve Ballmer has to also be brought into this conversation as well. He's the owner of the team. I remember their press conference. He was all hyped up.
Yep.
They thought they were going to win a championship. The mindset that he gave off was that the championship was guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's how everybody looked at the Clippers. And now this year, maybe they have a different mentality, but I have to see it to believe it because we have to see proof of that culture change. And we haven't seen that yet. Sure, Paul George looks great. He's doing great. Paul George is looking phenomenal. He's playmaking more this year. Him and Kawhi are now sharing the playmaking load, unlike last year where they had just Kawhi being the playmaker, which was ridiculous. And they still probably need a point guard. Maybe they might make a move here or there.
I think they're fine.
They might be fine, but when the playoff comes and they force one of them to have to be the primary playmaker, and they trap Kawhi in his spots, then we're going to start really knowing what the Clippers are about.
Yeah.
But the real reason I say we're not sleeping is because when it comes to PG, man, I'm sorry. I've seen enough, man. I've seen enough. I don't care if he averages 50 in the regular season. He has to go in the playoffs and prove that he's still that guy.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen it in Indiana. We saw it in OKC. We saw it last year in LA. This is the same guy that said he wanted to be in Indiana for life. Requested a trade, and then the last game as an Indiana Pacer only makes 5 shots. Then we see in OKC, calls himself Playoff P, gets outperformed by a rookie in Donovan Mitchell. Only makes, I believe he went 2 of 17 in the closeout game.
In the side of the backboard.
Yeah, that was Clippers.
That was Clippers. Yeah.
But then you move on to the next year in OKC versus Portland. He gets gamed on by Damian Lillard, and instead of just giving him his props, that's a bad shot. That's a bad shot. Yeah. And he's like, oh, the history books won't say that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just shut the hell up. Let this guy have his moment. You got gamed on. You played lackadaisical defense. Move on. Then you go on to the next year in LA. We all know what happened. We don't even have to go through all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, I have to see it to believe it from him. The Clippers, as far as I'm concerned, they're still the Clippers until they can get it done in the postseason.
No. I think they're a lot. My eye test tells me they're more improved.
Oh,
they look better.
Eye test.
They got some, defensive reinforcements, and now Paul George is in his bag, like I would like to say, and now he's handling the ball more. Kawhi's just, Kawhi's always gonna be Kawhi, but
that's Game 7 in the
I
bubble.
like to think what happened last year in the playoffs will never repeat itself, because that was just disappointing. That was I don't know what that was with the Clippers last year. I want to call it a fluke, but we know Bubba Jamal Murray happened. But I don't know. The Clippers just look better to me. They look a lot dangerous. A lot more dangerous than they were last year. They're playing good basketball, and with Paul George and with Kawhi Leonard, we got to see it in the playoffs. Kawhi's proven himself. Kawhi's proven himself, but we know with Pandemic P and Playoff P, what he's going to do in the playoffs.
And it's crazy because, Kawhi really went from a guy that was in the running for the best player in the league last year. Because if he got it done in the postseason, who would have challenged that title for him?
Nobody.
And then now we look at him we still look at him as a league player, a top 5 player in the league, but now it's you're not LeBron. You're not Kevin Durant. And he still has a chance to prove that. If he can get a championship this year, I don't see why he's not the best player in the world at that point. So, they have a lot to prove. A lot of them I wouldn't say Kawhi has a lot to prove, even though I think he has something
No,
to
they
prove.
got a lot to prove because of how they went out last year.
Of course, but like it's tough to, because I even made a video saying Kawhi has a lot to prove, but now I look back on it, it's kind of tough to say he has a lot to prove because he's already proven he can get it done in the postseason. So I think he just has to prove that he can be the best player in the league. Yeah. If he still believes that, because
if they lose,
I believe he thinks that.
Yeah, if they lose to like the Lakers in 7 games, a close one, yeah, maybe. Or if they make it to the finals and lose to the Nets, we'll give them a pass or whatnot. But they can't lose to anybody other than the Lakers or the Nets, in the finals. So, if they lose in the second round like they did last year, it will be an absolute shambles. And I just think they'll just blow the whole thing up. Yeah, absolutely.
Forget blow the whole thing up. Kawhi's out of there.
Yeah, he's done. But anyways, that's a team that many people are not showing enough love right now. But another team that we thought would be better, the New Orleans Pelicans, they're being, a disaster. Starting off the season with a 5-10 record. This is a team that many people thought make the playoffs, maybe play in. You have Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. They picked up a piece in Steven Adams. Eric Bledsoe made that trade with Drew Holiday. And we're looking at this team at the start of the year like they can make the playoffs. They can be a team that, a sleeper team that maybe, gives a team a run for its money. But they've disappointed so far. They hired Stan Van Gundy in the preseason, in the offseason. But he hasn't been the guy that many people thought will be, that coach for the New Orleans Pelicans. I said it as soon as they hired him. I was like, wrong hire. It's Stan Van Gundy. It's 2021. Hire a young coach.
Not 2009.
Exactly. Hire a young coach for a young team so they can mesh together. I don't want to say he's outdated because obviously he's still an NBA coach, been to the finals, and we got to give him his credit for that. But still, this is a young team full of young stars with Brandon Ingram and, with Zion Williamson, with Lonzo Ball, who has looked pathetic this year.
Yeah.
But I just think the schemes that he has on offense, the defense, and everything, the Pelicans just don't look right to me. I don't know what you think about them and what's wrong with the Pelicans as a whole, because they've disappointed so far.
I think that what's wrong with the Pelicans is that, for one, Stan Van Gundy's not using Lonzo Ball correctly. But I also think Lonzo Ball stinks. That's that. Lonzo Ball currently is averaging 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He's shooting 39% from the field, 28% from 3, and 58% at the free throw line.
Jeez.
I repeat, 58% at the free throw line. I'm going to say it for a third time. 58% at the free throw line. Hey, this is a miracle, though, because he was shooting like in the 40s in his rookie year. So it's progress.
Improvement.
And mind you, he's only getting to the free throw line 1 time a game. So this guy is hardly getting to the free throw line because he knows he can't make them. And he's splitting them. So as far as I'm concerned, people need to understand that Lonzo is so inconsistent on offense. And it's funny to me that these same people that say he's being underutilized and all that, I understand he is. But in the first game, Lonzo went crazy. He had for his standards, he went crazy. He had 16 points. I think he was 5 or 6 from 3. He was really good. If you actually go back and watch the tape, he looked so confident in his jumper, coming down, just pulling it from 3, pulling it, and making them. And everybody on Twitter was like, oh, Lonzo's going to be deadly this year. He's going to revenge tour. Yeah. But guess what? He hasn't been doing any of that. Meanwhile, his co-stars, Ingram's averaging 23 points on 47, 37, 85 shooting splits. Zion averaging 23 also on 58% shooting from the field along with 8 rebounds. His co-stars are doing their thing. Even Eric Bledsoe is shooting 41% from 3. Say what you want about Bledsoe ruining Lonzo Ball's play this year. He's doing his part. Yeah. So Zoe has to step up because he's the X factor for this team. When he's able to push the pace, which is where Van Gundy comes in to be able to allow Lonzo to push the pace and make for the offense, he's one of the best in the league at doing that. The only issue is he's just such an inconsistent offensive player. One night he can give you 16, 6, and 6. Another night he's giving you 5, 5, and 5 with his annual triple-double. Triple-single. So as far as I'm concerned, Lonzo, he's so inconsistent. I think he's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I think Stan is using him more as a spot-up shooter than an actual point guard. Because we know Lonzo Ball and passing.
Turn him into Jameer Nelson.
Exactly. Lonzo
he thinks
Ball.
It's 2009 Orlando.
Obviously, one of the things coming out of college was, he's an amazing passer. Has great vision for the game and great feel for the game. But obviously, we've always talked about his aggressiveness because I don't think he's aggressive. When I watch him play, he gives up the ball too much. And when he gives up the ball to Brandon Ingram or Zion, he goes stands in the corner. And now he becomes a spot-up shooter more than an actual playmaker. I think, now he has to be, we've been saying it for the last 3 years, be more aggressive. Yes, he's improved his jumper and, worked on a couple of things
his
here.
His defense is also solid.
His defense is also
on ball.
Exactly.
On
also,
ball.
all of those, take all of those things into account. He's better with the ball in his hands than off the ball. But that's hard to say because you have Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson obviously on your team. But, I think he can get those guys involved more than just passing it to them and go stand in the corner. Make a play, the pick and roll. But, hey, I'll be surprised if, 40 games into this thing, we're not talking about Stan Van Gundy getting fired. I'll be surprised.
It's always on the coach, huh?
I'll be surprised. I will be surprised. But they've looked bad because coming into the season, I thought, okay, looking at all the teams in the West, the Warriors not being healthy, Memphis here and there, I thought maybe 8th or 9th seed, the playing game, maybe that's where the Pelicans would be right now. But they're in 13th.
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
They look bad.
They're second to last.
They have looked bad. And, Brandon Ingram obviously had his coming out year last year, and being an all-star.
Another thing about Ingram, I want to say, Ingram's defense has fallen off.
Yeah.
Ingram was actually a really good defender in LA. He was a solid defender. Really capable. But now I think because he's had to put more work on the offensive end, defensively, he can't give his all.
Absolutely.
And we all know Zion not giving you too much on defense. I think Zion still has potential on that side of the ball. He can be a really good weak side shot blocker, also solid off ball.
It's not the greatest on ball on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Guarding point guards and shooting guards,
He should have some type of lateral quickness, but he still sometimes looks lost on the defensive side of the ball. He's got to be better. So, honestly, this team, I just don't think they're good enough because of the way they're constructed and the way Van Gundy is utilizing some of the players on this roster. So, as far as I'm concerned, they got to step up. Shout out to Nikhil Alexander-Walker, though. He's stepping up this year.
I was just about to say that. Lonzo Ball's spot.
He's a shooting guard. He can play the
jeopardy.
He can play the two,
because
bro.
Nikhil, like I've said, coming out of Virginia Tech, okay, I didn't expect this from him, but obviously watching him in the summer league, I was like, okay, that kid can be special. No, he's special for real. He has a complete package. Talk about the playmaking abilities, the shot, and everything that comes with it, the upside, and the kill is the real deal. But, if Lonzo doesn't step his game up, he might be sitting on the bench watching the kill put up buckets. But anywho, moving on to the last segment of the day, something we haven't done in a while. Harsh truth of the day. Harsh truth of the day, and we'll be talking about Russell Westbrook.
Yes, sir.
You might want to stay for this. Are we witnessing the end of Russell Westbrook?
What's up, everybody? So this is really tough.
Turn up the volume.
Yeah,
my God.
Now it's time for me to hop in my bag. Russell Westbrook this season has been awful. Straight up, let's just call it a spade a spade. He's been terrible. Russell Westbrook is the former league MVP. Russell Westbrook is one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen in NBA history. He has a finals appearance to his name, multiple-time All-Star, multiple-time All-NBA performer, and just one of the top 50 players of all time, and a top 10 point guard of all time.
You can make a case, yeah.
But unfortunately, his career has not gone the way we all expected to. And right now, when you look at his teammates that he started his career with, Kevin Durant, James Harden, it looks like they're about to get a ring. Maybe not this year, but sometime we expect that trio to get a ring. And it sucks because now if everybody gets a ring that was on that OKC team, not just those two, by the way. Don't forget Ibaka also has a ring. Absolutely. And Russ is the only one who won't get a ring. That sucks. That's tough. But I don't even want to address the career aspect. Russell Westbrook, we might be witnessing the end of him as we speak. Currently, Russell Westbrook is averaging 18 points, 10 rebounds, along with 11 assists. And he's shooting some of the worst shooting splits of his entire life. Jeez. Along with averaging 5 turnovers a game, he's shooting 37% from the field, 30% from 3, and 64% at the charity stripe. 64%. 64%. This guy's turning the ball over. He's making bad decisions with his shot selection. He can't finish the way he used to. His mid-range ain't what it used to be. We know he can't shoot threes. And what's crazy is he's actually shooting better from three than in some other years recently. So when you look at Russell Westbrook, when you paired him with Bradley Beal, we expected them to be a playoff team. And granted, he got hurt and missed some time, but his last game, he didn't look good whatsoever. And he is coming off an injury, so there's some slack to be given. Yeah. But to come out and have 9 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 turnovers, and shoot 3 of 11 from the field, that's not going to cut it. The Wizards need more from Russell Westbrook. And I'm sorry, maybe this is just what Russell Westbrook is. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to give us this stat line every single night. He can have moments where he can rekindle some of that magic from the past. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we're witnessing the end. Because who wants to have a point guard who can't shoot, isn't much on the defensive side of the ball, a turnover machine, and his IQ is one of the worst that we've seen from any superstar in NBA history. Russell Westbrook, as great as he's been, this looks like it might be the end.
That's a harsh take right there.
I'm sorry.
But, he's looked really bad because in the offseason when the Wizards made that trade for John Wall and Russell Westbrook, obviously we're both from Houston, but I'm more of a Rockets fan. I'm like, whoa. Why would we give up Russell Westbrook for John Wall, who's coming off, 2 surgeries, injuries and whatnot? So I thought we lost that trade. But, the way John Wall has been playing this year, this has made Russell Westbrook look like he's supposed to be in the G League or something. He's looked absolutely pathetic. I don't got to go over the numbers because you've already went through them. But if your eye test just tells you he's just not the same player. And I don't know where the drop-off was because last year, obviously, averaging 27 points per game in the regular season, looking as sharp as ever.
February, he was crazy.
Exactly. February, he went
Capella.
Stupid in February. And you look at what he did last year, and now you look at this year with an offensive-minded team in the Wizards because we know when defense in the Wizards is non-existent. It doesn't correlate. But you look at the Wizards, and when they made that trade, okay, Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, that should take you to the playoffs in the East because of how weak it is at the bottom. But they're 3-9, the second worst team in the East. Looking at the lottery right now with supposedly 2 all-world players.
Cunningham, bro.
Exactly.
Playing for Cade.
And now, one of the things that's getting me frustrated is they're wasting away Bradley Beal's prime.
Yeah.
Because he's putting up huge numbers trying to keep that team above water, and they just absolutely stink.
Yeah.
And obviously, you bring in an all-star, obviously, in Russell Westbrook, who you think is supposed to help matters out, and he's not helping them out in any way. How do you average 5 turnovers per game as a point guard? Russell Westbrook is what 12th, 13th year in the league. You obviously expect him to be more smarter with the ball, have higher IQ. If you want a fierce competitor, somebody who's eye-octane all the time, rah-rah, Russell Westbrook, that's your guy. You know what I'm saying? But if you want, winning basketball, Russell Westbrook is not that guy. Is he close to the end? I wouldn't say that. I would say this, though. Is he ready to take on a role player position?
Okay, be honest with yourself.
Because I don't think he's a superstar
even
anymore.
If he's a role player, even if he's a role player or a bench player, do you want Russell Westbrook on your team?
Absolutely not. I don't.
So
I don't.
I just feel like Russ, you can't win with him.
You can't.
You can't. And I guess if he has a shortened role, maybe he'll finally understand not to take bad shots.
But I think some teams will take the 18, 9, and 8. They'll take the triple doubles. It worked. I bet you the Knicks will take them.
I remember years ago when people were saying, oh, they have a winning record when he gets triple doubles. These triple doubles do not lead to wins. They do not lead to wins.
Well, we found out sooner than later.
Exactly. We found out sooner than later. Like, you can't have a player dominate all those facets of the game and then expect to win because that's too much of a load on one player. It's too much. The same way when people say James Harden dominates the ball too much of a ISO. That type of stuff can apply to Russell Westbrook. Sure, he's not ISOing every play, but him having to go out there and focus on getting 10 assists, focus on getting 10 rebounds, then you got to focus on getting your 20 points. I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. That's too much of a load on one player. And I hear all of the whole, he's pushing the pace, that's why he gets the rebounds. That's really not enough of an excuse for him to be getting a bunch of rebounds. And if that's the case, who really cares?
Man, he
Who
was
really
stat
cares?
padded, man.
He just stat padded.
He's stat padded.
So to me, man, I think we're witnessing the end.
I'll only give him a pass for that year, the year after KD left. You know, obviously.
I think that's the only year we give him.
I'll give him a pass for that year.
He wanted that MVP.
Exactly.
That's fine. I understand that. They weren't winning.
After that year, I stopped caring about the triple doubles. They're meaningless to me. It doesn't matter. But you know, obviously, I wouldn't say he's at the end. I think he's got about 2-3 more years. And just go, you know, retire with your family. You know, I think he has done all he could do in the NBA, because I wouldn't say, except he goes, you know, chase rings with, I don't know, go sign with the Lakers and sit on the bench for
maybe he goes to
24. We don't want him. We don't want him in Brooklyn. You can go to, I don't know, a contender and maybe be their bench player. But it's Russell Westbrook.
But that contract,
well, maybe okay. Even after his contract runs out, you know, Russell Westbrook.
What kind of player is he going to be?
He has a huge ego. That's what I'm saying. He has a huge ego. He's somebody who wants to take a step back to like other star players. But
maybe,
you know, I don't know. But he has looked absolutely awful this year.
Terrible.
But anyways, that's it on Russell Westbrook. Hey, I heard somebody got knocked out this past weekend.
Yeah.
McGregor,
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor got knocked out.
Let me say something. Let me say something.
You think he's done?
I think he should be.
Wow.
Not gonna lie. That fight with Khabib. Yeah, that stuff is dead.
That
stuff
is dead. I think Dana White
dead.
was like punching the air like, Conor.
Yeah, like Dustin, man, he put that man in his place.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you actually watch the fight, because I'm not some UFC enthusiast here, but
Dustin
we watch it. Yeah,
we watch it.
But Dustin, he went at his leg.
Yeah.
He went at that calf, and you could, if you actually see the last couple seconds before he knocked him down, you could see his leg wobbling, and that's really smart strategy from Dustin. And I don't know if Conor was just over his head, because in the beginning of the fight, he actually looked like he was doing some damage. Even though Dustin, he held his own, he was getting the grappling and the hugging and all of that. But man, that was embarrassing. Once Dustin saw his opening, it was over. And it's crazy because UFC is not like boxing.
Yeah.
You know, in boxing, you can call out certain people, you can dodge certain fighters. But in UFC, you just fight whoever's up next.
Yeah.
And man, that was a tough L. That was a really tough L to see.
I mean, you know, obviously not fighting for a long time, and you know, changing trainers and all the other things to it. You know, I don't know, but he got beat up. He got,
that was rough.
Chances of fighting Khabib, I don't know if maybe Khabib wants it.
That's done, yeah.
Maybe
they
could do it just for the money.
He's already beaten him.
I mean,
he doesn't have anything to prove.
But Conor looks bad. He looked bad. Maybe if he gets a couple of fights under his belt, maybe
he stepped away for a while.
3 or 4. That's what I'm saying. You know, stepping away from it. You know, when you come back, you all of a sudden fight somebody who's, you know, a good fighter.
Yeah, Dustin is no slouch.
Dustin is no scrub.
He's
exactly.
no slouch. Yeah.
So, but
it's tough.
Anywho, Khabib is still the king. Conor got knocked out. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back with more episodes. Once again, this is First Possession on CRYOUT TV. Don't forget to subscribe the YouTube channel. Click the link in the bio to go to the CRYOUT app also. We'll be back with more topics on the NFL, the NBA, some soccer, maybe some UFC. Who knows? But we'll be back. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. Bye.